Yo, what's up, guys? So my first 10 videos on YouTube on how to build a restaurant were quick viewpoints on my vision as soon as I walk into a place. They're as natural as they can be. I walk in and I just start speaking on what my thoughts are. I do speak on some technical things that I've developed over time, but essentially that was a viewpoint that I wanted to present on a young mind or somebody who basically is passionate about opening a restaurant or even a retail business. But definitely, we're more focused on restaurants because that's the most difficult type of business you can start. And I really do believe that after being in the industry for 6 years now. So I've taken some notes to kind of give some technical details and some viewpoints that I really believe anybody who's in the restaurant industry or just beginning to start, they need to really know these things. They're fundamentals, they're viewpoints based on technical development of a restaurant. So yeah, let's get started. Basically, I really believe the first and foremost important thing is to write it down, whether it's your idea, whether it's the menu, whether it's the layout, whatever is in your mind, draw it out, write it out, and let it sit there for a little bit, let it marinate. That's what I did. I had my first drawn out restaurant vision, probably at like the age of 12 or 13. And it was just like a fun vibe. But when I did end up first coming down to draw out my restaurant, it was very similar to the initial drawing. Because our industry is very passion driven, and what you end up learning is the passion isn't enough. You have to add in a lot of intellect to it. But yeah, so first write it down, draw it out. Then my second suggestion is understand the demographic of your city, your state, know everything about it from a retail standpoint. You might not have to know too much about the restaurant viewpoint at this juncture, but you should know anything related to retail, the demographics, what neighborhoods are, what direction they want to go, what neighborhoods are more fundamentally sound towards what businesses, what neighborhoods are more about the environment, the vibe. So these are things you want to kind of narrow down and figure out over time. Luckily enough for me, I've lived in the city for a long time. That's on an upward trajectory. There's a lot of growth here. And I did a lot of analysis on that side also, whether it's understanding where other businesses are going, what other corporations are coming here, what corporations already exist here, what different demographics exist in different neighborhoods, whether it's east side, west side, north side, south side. I broke it down into those components, and I kind of dived deep into how they function and what type of people live there and what other major businesses exist there. Third, I would say is you got to take your time and analyze the market 4 years prior to where it was and 5 years in the future where it will be. The reason I do this is 4 year priors will give you experience of things that have failed, things that have succeeded, things that have had buzz, things that are trendy. And then from that, you need to take a balance of everything. You need to take the failures to understand why things failed and how they failed. It could be technical components, it could be bad timing, it could be just the management, and it could be just the food. Nobody liked the food. With those things, it's a slow process to understand the future of 5 years ahead, but that should come with a lot of analysis and analytics of where the industry as a whole is going. Let's take, for example, basically what, not Kentucky Fried Chicken, but Popeyes. The reason they dove into chicken sandwich, they probably analyzed the trajectory of Chick-fil-A and how a lot of people were going towards Chick-fil-A, even though they have a very simple recipe, very simple ingredients, they have a die-hard fan base. And with that analysis, Popeyes said, hey, why don't we try a spicy version, a more flavorful version, and they did slight differences where theirs is still marinated and battered, has some type of brine to it, but they took off, and their analysis paid off for them alongside their marketing. We'll talk about marketing later, because that comes on after you establish all the basic components that I'm going to run through. But that's what Popeyes did. You know, they analyzed who was succeeding at the time, what their growth trajectory was, what their competition was, how much market cap they had, and they figured, hey, we already are established. We just need to hit this one point where we can get immense, trendy crowd coming in. I mean, it was a crazy time with Popeyes. As we know, like people were getting killed over sandwiches, so that kind of went on overboard. But I'm sure Popeyes was happy with whatever results they were getting, whatever attention they were getting. But we'll come back to marketing. But basically what I want you to get from that is a study 4 years prior to your industry and then the 5 years ahead where it's going. Next thing is the key to knowing, do you want to be a local brand? Do you want to be a franchise in the future? Do you want to be corporate and nationwide? This is going to help with that 5 year plan you have, and it'll help you set targets over time to know that, hey, you're succeeding. Because our industry, it's very difficult to be a hit overnight. You can be a hit overnight on some components, but you're trying to impress so many people that each person has an opinion on food. Whatever you're putting in your mouth, people are very cautious. People believe they know a lot about it already, or they're open to exploring, but they'll always compare you to something that already exists. So it's good to kind of have some type of target set, which direction you want to take your brand. And then next thing is the most crucial part, which is basically testing the food. You wanna, before you invest any money, before you invest any time, even after your drawing, even after the analysis, you want to solely focus on the food. I would say give it 3 to 6 months of testing with a diverse group of people, not just your friends and family, not people that have already had your food, not people that have already complimented you. But find a group of people that are almost even scared to try your food or whatever you're trying to do. With that, if you even get them to taste it, that's a big step forward. Because a lot of people are scared of how things look and how things feel. It's not so much the taste, because taste develops over time. When I was younger, I didn't like a lot of foods that I ate, and then slowly trying it over time, you develop that flavor, you understand the complexity, and you learn from like who you're around, your friends and your family. You'll try things from them. So you want to kind of find a group of diverse people, different races, different ethnicities, different cultures, and kind of ask them, hey, give me your true opinion. They're never going to lie, especially if they're from a different culture or different race or different ethnicity. They're not going to lie about trying your new dish that they've never had before, and they're going to keep it real most of the time. That's what you want to do. Now, if you get a diverse group to say they love your food, they like it, they would try it again, you're ahead of a lot of other places who are trying to skip that part and kind of go in with what they've been told previously by people that are close to them or what they believe themselves. Next part, which is very important, and this is where most small businesses, not just restaurants, but most small businesses lose their money. It's for regulations and the policies that are set by the state, city, and the government. My recommendation is, after you figure out the food taste, the amazing various people that have tried to give you feedback, do a detached cost analysis of what your city and state require. So you're going to go to the IRS office first thing. You're going to get all your guidelines, all your policies that the IRS requires you to file and submit as a small business, not even as a restaurant at this point. You're going to get all those details because everything costs. Any file you submit, any certification you need is going to cost you money. And a lot of people don't budget this in at all. So make sure you go to the IRS office first. Second, you want to go to the county offices because they're different. County offices set out different policies from whatever the IRS has set. They focus more on your local spot, whatever your address is, whatever your location is. They set out policy and regulation based on that. And that can be your county, can be your city, but you want to go to your county offices and your local offices because they'll give you specific guidelines on the build out, your property taxes, your equipment taxes, and once again, the certifications that are required. Third, go to your health and safety department. Now, why is this important? It's not only is it important for your operation, but it's also important because they have fees and certifications that you have to have. And a lot of these documentations are given to you, but they take that funding, they actually take care of the salaries and payroll for a lot of the health people that are actually coming to check on your restaurant throughout your lifeline to see if you're maintaining the policies, maintaining the right guidelines in your kitchen, heating, cooling, cleanliness, anything related to maintaining your restaurant to the most prime it can be. So that's very important. Fourth, you want to go to your local fire marshal because the fire marshal is extremely important on equipment. because each city, each county has different guidelines even on what equipment you can install, what equipment you can use, and the fire marshal is your best source with that because they're going to actually come and judge your restaurant. Because in the United States, you have to have a hood and an exhaust and an ANSEL system. Hood and exhaust is the big thing you see in the restaurants that is hanging off the ceiling, and it sucks up all the smoke. The ANSEL system is actually a system built into a lot of the hoods and ventilation systems that release extinguishers to prevent fires. So that process is very strenuous, very specific. Everything has to be measured to a T. All your equipment that is placed underneath that has to be measured out to a certain extension based on your hood capacity. So I would recommend going to the fire marshal early on, and once they tell you what they require, you can even do a build out of equipment and set up how you want it to be done based on your location. Because you might have a huge location, but if your back door is close to your back wall, you might not be able to install that hood and ventilation system as big as you require for your equipment to be in. So that's why I recommend going to the fire marshal early on, so they can even get a quick view of your building and let you know certain technicalities that might not work for you that you imagine you would. And for that, there's resolutions. You might have to just put the hood and ventilation a few feet forward, away from the door, and centralize it, kind of like an island hood. An island hood goes dead set in the middle, and you work kind of in a 360 motion around it. So there's different ways around it, but if you go to the fire marshal early on, you're going to avoid losing a lot of money. And that's once again with regulations. The fifth thing I would say is understand all four of these regulatory authorities will have fees and annual practices. I said that going throughout it, but as you're going through getting things approved after you've gotten your construction done, your development done, they're going to tax you on everything. You got to pay up fees, and this is regular. A lot of this stuff is annually. So just to get a little document that says we exist in Marion County in Indianapolis, Indiana, and this is for the health department, we end up spending close to $500 for this one piece of paper. Now I understand that money goes towards, like I said, the payroll for the health department. So they have it kind of on a recycle bin setup where everything is connected to each other. You pay them, they give you the paper. After getting the paper, the health department can come in anytime and check. And if you're not doing things right, guess what? You can get fined, you can get shut down. So once again, it's best to just start off with that information. Sixth and final. This is very important because most businesses, other than regulations, get screwed by this. Hire a very well-trained and experienced CPA. Preferably a CPA who's worked with restaurants in the past, because our industry, it requires a lot of capital, it requires a lot of revenue, and if you get a good enough CPA who can manage that for you from beginning to end, you won't have any downfalls, because working with taxation, you, as a regular person, it's very hard to understand what they're requiring, what they need. So go find a really, really good CPA, put them on right away, and whatever their fees are, you want to go to the best. Don't cheap out with your uncle's best friend and somebody who helps like local people do personal taxes and here and there dabbles in business tax. Try to find somebody who's worked with restaurants, and it's very important. The key to understanding our businesses, you want to show a profit as soon as possible, because industry is changing fast, equipment changes fast, new things come out fast, and you want to keep growing with that. You want to keep making your employees' life easier. You want to keep enhancing. The least amount you do with your hands and the more tools you have, the faster the service will be, the quality will be better. And the other key with showing a profit is at the end of the year, you want to try to get a bigger loan to try to keep growing or have a second location for more revenue. You can't get a loan if you're not showing a profit. Even if, as an owner, if you don't pay yourself for the entire first year to show a profit, do it. I recommend not taking a dime out of any profits and making sure you show a profit. Do not show a loss. Try to be cheap to save on taxes. Make sure to show the profit. Next thing, now we're coming back to more of the development of the idea. I went through a lot of the technical stuff, which I think is really important to saving money. Like I said, most small businesses, more restaurants will lose money. Now, as far as how the brand goes, how you want to present yourself, what ideas you have in the environment, connected to the food. So the brand is to each their own. In our industry, it comes from personal preference. Like, do you want it to be more of a relaxed vibe? Do you want it to be high end? Do you want it to be fast casual? Do you want it to be a fast food? So that will come with your personal taste, what type of food you have. Those two things will decide that avenue. But it's really good to innovate even with things that you've seen, because at the end of the day, when you're doing a retail business, it's the knowledge you've gained by viewing things that you already liked, like restaurants you went to different cities, or what you think is like doing really well right now in your own city. It's the process of seeing things, learning things, and talking to other entrepreneurs and other restaurant owners. And then you want to narrow it down based on your budget. The biggest advice here is start small as possible. You might have these grandeur, plans. Oh, I want to have all oak in my restaurant. I want to have TVs everywhere. I want to play basketball games every weekend. I want to have the best carpet. Erase all that. Go with the smallest concept possible. Minimalism is key, because at the end of the day, people will only come back if the food tastes good. If you can manage that, if you can manage consistency and quality of your food, I guarantee you in a year you'll have enough money to do anything you want with your location to make it look nice, make it feel like it's yours. But hey, if you have a lot of capital, you want to still slowly develop. Now, I know a lot of people have money and they think that's the key to the business. I would say even if you have that capital, be smart with it. Keep cash at hand. One of the most important things in our businesses is having cash at hand and continuous revenue flow. If you can do that, investors, banks, they find that attractive, that you can hold on to cash and you're not basically running through it. Next thing will be understanding the pressure of reoccurring bills. Like I said, if you plan on taking out a loan to do a business and you don't have that cash in hand, if you don't start small as possible, you're giving yourself a huge burden, a huge headache. It's better to start off with used equipment. It's better to start off with things that aren't best or the most pristine. That way you can test and develop, and you'll understand over time what things you really need and what things you don't need. Because you don't want to always have the best equipment. You can do fine with the minimalist approach and slowly add on. Because some places require more staff than more equipment. And you will find that out based on your experience. You can't just decide certain things by watching other restaurants. So if you're a very niche restaurant, you'll see the manpower is more important than the best equipment. In our industry, it's all about patience, timing, and grit. Now, the patience involves slowly studying how your business develops. You want to be there every day for the first year, and that's what I do. If I'm starting any business, my goal is to be there every day for a year. Now, if I've done something that's very successful previously, and I'm trying to replicate that, then I can understand to narrowing down 3 to 6 months of being there every day, but you will have to be there every day for a certain period of point where you feel like that your team matches the previous success you've created, or they're even better. So that'll decide how you fluctuate your own personal hours, but try to be there every day, try to show face every day, and try to switch out what your duties are on a daily basis so the staff understands you're willing to do any and every job. Basically, when a customer comes into your restaurant, they shouldn't be able to tell you're the owner. They should feel like that this guy is the best employee here. And that's how I take it. When I'm in my restaurant, you see me wearing the same clothes as the rest of my staff. You see me engaging with the customers the same way as they do. You see me never breaking any of my own rules, any of my own policies. Because once the system is broken, everybody will take advantage of that, and they'll use you as an example. So if you build a system, you want to be the main one following it at all times, at all points. So that's the key. And another thing is, you don't have to go all out when you even start the business. You can do a pop-up. Now, in our times, there's a lot of variations that have been created that have made it simpler. Even though it's the most difficult business to do, you can do pop-ups, like I said. You can find a location that allows you to negotiate 2 to 3 months rent. Once again, if you can do 2 to 3 months free rent and generate revenue and hold on to that cash, your life will be so much more stress-free. You can have, even if you have like $10K just sitting in your bank throughout the year, that you can use during emergencies. And with that 10K, you can even build a credit line at your bank because they'll see, hey, this guy has this much revenue, he held on to it, we can give him 25,000 credit line. Now, the key thing with credit is to pay it off before the 30 days are over. You don't want to accumulate any interest. And that ties in with what I said earlier. You don't want to take out big loans, you don't want to buy the best equipment, you want to start small as possible. So even when you have that line of credit, you have to have it set up in a way where you are guaranteed to pay it off every 30 days before that deadline is over, and you have to pay interest on it. Because the way interest accumulates, especially on the line of credit and credit cards, is very high. It's like 12 to 24%. You're digging yourself a hole. It's a hole you can't come out of. We think we can because our business is successful, or we're hiring so many people. But those interest rates costs, they're a headache. Don't ever let that happen. Next thing would be try to find an experienced partner. If you can, if you really believe in your food, find somebody who's already in the industry, find somebody who's an expert, and have them try your food. Because essentially, if you can get them to love it, building a concept around the food is really easy. But having really good tasting food that you can consistently make, very difficult. Ingredients change throughout the day, price of ingredients change. Basically, food is malleable, it doesn't last, right? So every week or 2 weeks your food goes bad. And with that trajectory, chain line systems can break, your suppliers might not be able to come through, things might run out. I mean, COVID was a great experience for restaurants. It let us know nothing is guaranteed, nothing is promised, no matter how successful you are. In my city, in Indianapolis, honestly, some of the most successful, some of the best built out, some of the most investor-driven restaurants failed first. It's because they went all in early on, they developed it, and it looked nice, they got the best quality food, they were like promoting high-end dishes. Now my restaurant has high-end dishes also, but the way we developed it is we're lucky that our mom cooked this food all her life. So those like ingredients and recipes have been passed on through generation to generation. So I was lucky enough to have that niche at hand. I had to do everything else around it as a businessman to develop the restaurant. So even with that viewpoint, I was blessed to say that my mom cooks the best Pakistani Indian food off the bat. So I was able to jump ahead of the curve with that, and that's why I knew at the age of 13 that I would do a restaurant at some point because of how great my mom's cooking is. Now everything around that I had to slowly learn because they don't teach you this in college. They don't even teach you this in specialized like culinary schools, the process of going through regulations, the process of developing. So if you go to someone with experience, it's the best step. And don't ever be scared to share your ideas. Nobody has time to steal your ideas. If the person had time to steal your ideas, they wouldn't be wasting time developing restaurants before you even got there, right? They would have found somebody like you and basically figured out, hey, I have money, give me your idea, and then rip you off. So share your idea, be open, be expressive, and connect your passion with intellect at this point. Because you don't want to BS anybody in the industry. It's really very easy to see when somebody is BSing. You can see straight through a person that they're making up things. If you have experience, you've seen it all already. Especially in our industry, we deal with people on all levels. We deal with successful people, poor people, rich people, all races, all ethnicities, all groups, immigrants, local citizens. So you meet with so many people throughout the day, you kind of start understanding how different people react and how different people, speak, how different people have different ideas. So keep it real, be honest, find a mentor, and if you can, and if you're lucky enough, they love your food enough and they can partner with you, give them a little bit of equity and figure it out. Because you need that person's experience and let them shine. Don't bother them with the technical stuff or whatever their expertise is. Let them take over that, establish that, and move forward with what you're passionate about. But don't leave your intellect behind. Keep studying, keep tabs, keep asking that person questions, keep asking them to give you reports on what they're doing. Touch base with them if they're doing taxes. Whatever they're doing, you want to do meetings at least every, once a month is a minimum. You want to try to meet like every 2 weeks, I would say. My final advice is be ready for anything and everything. When I walk into my restaurants, mentally, I'm ready for it to burn down. I'm ready for everybody to quit all at the same time. But that comes in with my vision and my passion of knowing, hey, if you treat your employees right, they'll make sure to treat the customer right. And that's where the intellect comes in. If you've built a system that they're constantly replicating, that you're replicating, those things will come into play. And it takes a lot to develop and perfect your system. Don't be afraid to change where you started. Don't be afraid to expand your menu out. Don't be afraid to take your menu and take it back to your original setup or add a few more dishes. Always keep testing on the menu side of things, where your service should always remain the same. Always greet people, always be friendly. The key thing is to basically kill people with kindness, because errors are going to occur. Our industry, no matter how, you can get to the top level, you can get a Michelin star restaurant, errors will occur, and you have to be patient enough to solve those issues. Once again, patience, grit, and quality and timing. Those are the keys to our industry, because you can talk all the talk, you can have all the accolades, but if you let go of those principles, you're going to fail at some point. And in our industry, there's like a 75% failure rate within the first year. That's really, really high. So even if you make it to like year 3, you're kind of successful. And then you want to keep growing, you want to get those numbers right, the data right, analytics. So at our restaurant, the final and most important component is all the data we collect, all the information we collect, and how we understand where our customers are coming from. And that kind of ties into finally marketing. How are you going to market your brand? How are you going to get into people's head when they think about your cuisine? So our goal is, whenever people think about Pakistani Indian food, they don't think Pakistani Indian, they think chapati. And our goal is to be in every city, every state, God willing. So when you land there and you're craving Pakistani Indian food, you're going to look for chapati. And our brand is focused on 5-star eating, super chill seating. For that, you'll have to come check us out. And luckily for us, we're on our 3rd concept, which, based on our 10 videos, we've narrowed down where it's going to go. And the next few content I'm going to put on is on the Bottle Works district, and that's where we've decided to go. It's called the Garage Food Hall. It's a massive food hall with some of the best restaurants in our state, open concept seating. And the way we're doing it, we're making it faster, smaller, and taking our best dishes from 3 of our main sections from our menu from our last restaurant. So we're taking our Pakistani house dishes, which are all like deep marinated, stewed, home-cooked dishes. And then we're taking Indian house, which are all vegetarian, vegan, deep marinated, stewed, home-cooked dishes. And our street chots, which are street foods, which are completely vegetarian, vegan. And we're taking those to the new location to make sure we can put it out faster and give people a taste of authentic mom's recipe style of cooking. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I'm going to try to do another video based on that. And anything that you feel like I've left out, please speak up on it. I would love to dive into that and give you guys more information. These videos are really set out to help people. If they have a vision of creating a restaurant or retail business, they can get something out of this. So my goal is to answer as many questions, help people out as much as possible. Reach out to me. I'm open like a book. There's nothing that I will hold back on providing information, whether it's equipment details, whether it's government details like regulations, health, what I've done wrong, what I've done right. So yeah, leave a comment and please like the video, and I'll continue to drop better content. Thank you.